got Iranian academic from Iran, from the University of Tehran, coming onto the show to give us his perspective. We've had him on before. It's going to be a great interview. He's going to be speaking about this. Trump is planning to restart the war. What's his conversations going to be? The supreme leader of Iran has made some statements. What's his thoughts going to be? What will happen in the ceasefire? And will war re-begin? We're going to get him on right now onto the show. Professor Fawad, thank you so much for taking your time out to join us. How are you?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Thanks for asking. Immediately, I want to get into the conversation. Today, we had a statement coming out from the Supreme Leader of Iran, Sayyid Ali Mujtaba Khamenei, and he talked about the Strait. And he seemed to suggest that he's going to share the Strait with the Gulf states. He seemed to say that they're going to financially and economically benefit from it. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, we have 6, 7 countries around the Persian Gulf, maybe 8. And this is a waterway that belongs to everybody that lives in this part of the world. It doesn't belong to the United States because the U.S. is 11,000 kilometers away. The state of Hormuz has 2 coastal states, Iran and Oman. And the idea that Iran has had for many decades now is that with all the wealth that is available in the Persian Gulf, we don't need the Americans to come and start wars and benefit financially so they could turn that profit into bombs and hit the people in Gaza in the manner that you saw during the genocide for 2 years. So why would you want to benefit the US dollar so the US could prosper, so they could work with the Zionists for Greater Israel, as they call it? Greater Israel includes Saudi territory, Egyptian territory, Jordanian territory, Iraqi territory, Syrian territory, Lebanese territory. And they have already taken over territory in Syria and Lebanon. They have in practice taken over UAE, unfortunately, and they're expanding. So why would you want to provide all this wealth to people like Trump? You know, he had an interview with the Financial Times a couple of weeks ago. He says that he wants to take over Iranian oil. And when a reporter asked him the next day, why would you want to take over Iranian oil? He says that he's a businessman and he likes to make money. A couple of weeks ago, he talked about the Saudi crown prince kissing his, I'm going to be polite, his behind.
Mm-hmm.
Why, you know, Saudi Arabia is a rich country. Why would they endure this type of insult from someone like Trump? So the idea that Iran has had is, let's have peace, let's unite against Israel, against the United States, and let's use the wealth of these people in this part of the world for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of the maybe Muslim world. There are some Muslim countries that are not as fortunate in terms of having resources, natural resources, and fight back against hegemony and domination. This was what the Islamic Revolution in 1979 was all about, to free Iran and then help other countries that wanted it. There was no push for countries that wanted it. Iran was available to help, so they could do the same. This is what Iran said in 1979. This is what Iran's leader said this morning. So this has been a policy that has been around for a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the merits of that, especially when the Gulf states will help facilitate in the attacks on Iran, that they would then give them a piece of the Strait of Hormuz, especially when they're in bed with the United States of America. But we're just hearing reports that there is air defense active in Tehran. Obviously, it could be an exercise. I know the last 2 times have been exercises. Have you heard anything at the moment? That it does sound southern Tehran, apparently there is air defenses active.
I'm in middle of Tehran, so Tehran is a big city, about 15 million people. So if it's in southern Tehran, we wouldn't be able to hear it here. I was out, about half an hour ago. I came back home. I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just hearing it now. It was alert just 5 minutes ago. So that's the breaking news. Obviously, if there's anything that escalates, we'll continue to let you know. But the last 2 times we thought something was happening, they were just Iranians testing the air defenses out. Now, coming back to the question with you, we had a report. I asked the previous guest the same thing from Iran. We had Donald Trump, apparently, this has been reported by Axios, and they're saying that Donald Trump today has been presented with 3 possibilities if there isn't any headway in terms of the ceasefire. They believe the ceasefire has stagnated. And the 3 possibilities were: possibility 1, they start a new short bombing campaign. The second possibility is that they take the Strait of Hormuz militarily, and that will require maybe some ground troops. And the third possibility was to do what they tried to do in South Isfahan, which is to go in, procure the nuclear enrichment, and get out. Apparently, he's trying to weigh up these 3 possibilities if there isn't any headway in terms of the negotiations. What's your thoughts on that?
The third one, they already tried, as you said. They're not going to be able to do that. The second one, it's going to be very difficult. You're going to see a lot of dead Americans. And, they have this War Powers Act in the United States. This is U.S. law. So when the president starts a war, he has 60 days to finish it. And if he wants to continue, he needs to go to the U.S. Congress and get permission. We had Hexit in the U.S. Senate today. Senator Kaine asked him about this deadline, which is tomorrow. And he said that since there is a ceasefire, the clock on that 60-day has stopped, which is not accurate legally, because in the law it doesn't say that if there is ceasefire, the clock stops. The measure for counting is U.S. troops being in a hostile environment, and they are in a hostile environment. Iranian side could get tired of this blockade, and they could do to U.S. what the U.S. did to Iran. They shot at Iranian ships last week, right before the next round of negotiations in Islamabad. Blockading a country is an act of war, so they're violating the ceasefire. Iran has not accepted the extension. What Iran accepted was 2 weeks. We are not in ceasefire on Iranian side. So overall, Trump has limitations of his own internally. We have had U.S. senators voting with him. Last time they voted, they had 51 senators voting for the continuation of war, 50 Republicans and 1 Democrat. The Democrat is from Pennsylvania. I think his name is Fetterman or something like that. Zionist Democrat. So we have 4 senators, Republican senators, saying that they may not continue voting for war after 60 days. And if you get 2 of them change their vote, then the war wouldn't have enough vote in the Senate. More or less similar thing is going on in the House. And if Trump wants to continue the war, he is not only violating all types of international law, he's also violating U.S. law. So what the Iranian side is going to do is, I think they will respond to any attack. So if, we have had Axios reporting yesterday that the Pentagon is planning a new wave, and I think that was your first scenario. So Iran will respond. In the 40 days of the war, Iran's response was measured. So Iran did not hit U.S. economic facilities until the U.S. started hitting Iranian economic infrastructure. we don't know if that is going to be the case, because that policy didn't work, because we are still at war. So overall, I think Iran is prepared for all the three options that you had, including a fourth one, which is Trump realizing that this is a failed policy, and he has this capacity to declare victory when he is failing miserably. And then he can... Okay, I'm hearing some things now. So the report is accurate.
You're hearing some air defense?
Yeah, we are hearing some air defense now.
You think it could be the Americans bombing or just a testing of the air defense?
We had testing a few nights ago, as you said. It could be, people are getting ready, given the fact that the other side has this option of starting the war again. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So overall, Iran is ready to start the war again tonight, if that's what Trump wants, and Iran is ready to reach a political settlement if that's what they are ready for. Right now, they are not ready for a political settlement. He wants capitulation. Yesterday, he said that he wants Iran to cry uncle. If Trump thinks that he's the uncle, I think he's making a huge mistake. He has killed a lot of people, more than 3,500 civilians. He will pay for that rampage that he's engaging in.
So just on this, what you're speaking about, and we will obviously keep up to date on seeing what's happening with Tehran. Hopefully the war hasn't restarted, but there is a possibility they may have. Is this issue about nuclear enrichment? And before I do, about the negotiations, the last time I had you on, my audience was like, Professor Foad, he seems really dejected in terms of maybe the direction that these negotiations are going. It seems like since then, Iran has been a lot more stronger, more resolute. They've said, we're not going to cede to your demands. How do you feel the negotiations are going?
We don't have any negotiations. We could have negotiations. But as I said yesterday, Trump says that he wants capitulation. Iran is not interested in capitulation. Whenever they're actually ready for real negotiations, they can call the Iranian side. Iran has provided them with different options. People here realize that Trump needs an off-ramp. He needs to show some success so he can change policy. And Iranian side has been willing to give him that off-ramp. And he is not interested right now. He may be interested sometime in the future. We don't know. He may be starting the war again tonight. We don't know. But there are no real negotiations, because last time when the Iranian delegation went to Islamabad, they started this blockade 24 hours after they returned to Tehran. And then they shot at Iranian ships 24 hours before the next round of negotiations. In international law, you're supposed to negotiate in good faith. That's Vienna Convention 1969, Article 26. Negotiating in good faith means you don't shoot at the other side. It means that you lower the rhetoric. You don't use profanity when you're talking about the other side. So there are no signs that the U.S. is ready for negotiating.
Yeah, and this has always been the possibility. I'm just reading now, again, is saying reports that air defenses have been activated over Tehran. This is a developing situation. We haven't got any information whether this is a strike, drone incursion, or just testing by Iran. But obviously, we'll give you the news as and when we receive it live on this show. But Professor Foad, one of the major things of a disagreement, because I do believe that the other elements are more about Israel than the United States of America. And I know the US isn't really, even this isn't really about the US, but they've kind of laid it out as their main issue, which is the nuclear enrichment. Now, we know that, the United States of America are demanding 0%. We know Iran wants some kind of nuclear enrichment. It is a sovereign right in an energy world, in a world where the world is developing and nuclear energy is important and imperative. there is a need for that nuclear energy. In terms of two elements, in terms of a percentage, what would you seem deemed appropriate from an Iranian perspective? We know we had someone else from Iran, Hamid, on earlier, and he said, look, we need 20% for our medical facilities. Also, in terms of a block, the Americans are claiming that they've asked Iran for 20 years block, but Iran only wants 5. But for me, both of those things are unacceptable. You agree to that type of block, you're going to put yourself well behind the rest of the world when it comes to development. What's your thoughts on this entire nuclear discussion?
In 2015, Iran accepted enrichment at 3.65 levels. Before the start of the war, Iran was presenting very good options on the nuclear issue to the other side. We had Jake Sullivan, the former national security advisor, saying that Kushner and Vetkov did not understand what Iran was telling them because they don't have any expertise in this area, and they wanted to go to war. So they looked like they're listening, but they were probably daydreaming about something. I don't think what Iran was offering before the war is available now. The offer was to avoid war. Now that the war has started, there are a lot of Iranians that in the leadership, ordinary citizens that don't see the reason to offer the offer that Iran had before the war. But overall, Iran has done it once, accepting 3.65% limits. They may do it again. Your other guess is accurate. The 20% is used for medicine. And Iran wanted to buy, some years ago, Iran wanted to buy that, what Iran needed for medical purposes. And we had Argentina willing to sell. They decided not to because of the pressure from the United States. That's when Iran enriched at 20%, when no one was available to sell Iran that level of enriched uranium. So overall, I think this is a little bit premature to talk about because the other side is not interested in serious negotiations. So Iran could say 3.65%, 20%, 60, 90. It doesn't make any difference. They're not ready to do to sit down at the negotiating table for real. They want a capitulation table. That's not available.
So one of the things that when I spoke to Professor Morandi, he was part of the delegation that went to Islamabad. What they said was that there were discussions going on during the day. Maybe there were some points of agreement and some points of disagreement. But what happened was that apparently Netanyahu got on the phone with Kushner and killed any kind of discussion that's going on. And when you look at Jared Kushner, you look at Steve Witkoff, they very much do sound like Israeli operatives, and they're working on behalf of Israel over the United States of America. When you've got these two people as chief negotiators, how can there be any deal?
You are not going to have one. That's why we didn't have any deals.
True.
You're right. Both work for Netanyahu. They do Israel first. They don't believe in America first. I don't think Trump believes in America first, especially if Netanyahu is involved in any case. We have known this for a long time. Kushner used to sleep with Netanyahu. This is what Netanyahu says, that he used to sleep in his bed when he was a young boy. Netanyahu was a U.S. representative, Israeli representative at the UN, and he was friends with Kushner's father. So Netanyahu used to go to their house and sleep in his bedroom. This is what Netanyahu says. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Kushner was in the bedroom when Netanyahu was sleeping there or not. I don't know. That's why I said, they used to sleep together in that sense. Not that I'm not suggesting anything else. And Vetkov, the first day it was announced that he's going to be working for Trump. You do a simple Google search. This is what we did here. this was one of his jobs. He used to, and during the Biden administration, when they limited some 2,000 pound bombs, they said that they're not going to export that to Israel. He went around New York collecting money from other Zionists so they could buy these type of bombs from other places with the money that was collected in New York, and Witkoff was responsible for that money collection. It's obvious that he works for the Israelis. These things we knew from many months ago, yes. And you're accurate, they work for Netanyahu.
So I am seeing some more breaking news. I'm not sure about the volume of what's going on, but air defenses are allegedly engaging small drones and surveillance UAVs over Tehran, and this is being reported by the Tasnim News. So it doesn't seem like a major attack, but it looks like some kind of surveillance drones from the United States of America and Israel. What's your thoughts on that?
It is possible. The drone technology that the other side has is extensive. They use that technology. Iran is doing better in terms of air defense. Iran shot down an F-35. They shot down a few F-15s. Mm-hmm. And so Iran is doing better in terms of defending the skies. They have extensive technology. They have access to American taxpayer money, which is quite large. So this is a serious fight.
It is severely concerning. I'm just looking at the news. More further news is saying that Iran is combating micro drones, and this is according to Fars News. There's no explosions on the ground, so that's going to be interesting to see how that develops. A reconnaissance normally is a prelude to possibly further action, and personally, I think something may be happening this week, in these next few days, but let's wait and see. Professor Fawad, one of the things that has been discussed, but less so now, is this notion that there is some kind of disagreement within the government. You have basically the reformists and possibly the people who are more IRGC aligned disagreeing with each other. That seems like that's no longer an issue anymore. This seems like they're all speaking or singing from the same hymn tune. What's your thoughts on that?
Iran has a population of over 90 million. We have politicians, reformists, principalists. This is a serious country. In serious countries, you have disagreement. We don't have a kingdom. You don't have a king that dictates what needs to be done. So while in the process of making policy, different people say different things, and there are disagreements all the time. But once they reach a decision, then everybody supports that decision, and then the country, as you know, has this National Security Council. What needs to be done after that decision is made is directed by these people. The head of the National Security Council is the country's president. Mm-hmm. So there's a system in place. That's how you can survive 40 days of bombings. We have lost the country's leader, many politicians, military leaders. So how can you survive that when you have a system in place? And this is what Iran has. And that is working. How do we know that? Iran managed to fight two nuclear regimes and create serious damage to them, while Iran does not spend nearly as much on its military. The U.S. spends 100 times more on U.S. military in comparison to Iran. So there are disagreements. It should, if there are no disagreements, it means people are not thinking. There are disagreements, but there is unity when a decision is made.
Great. Now, another question I've got for you is, what's the feeling like in Iran? I'm hearing, like, not from yourself, but from other people, that not as many people wanted this ceasefire. They felt like it wasn't the right decision to make. I understand the logical reasoning for it because Iran had to recondition a lot of these missiles. They needed a bit more fuel into these bunkers in order to be ready for the next phase of the war. But what's the feeling like in Iran in terms of this kind of situation where there's a ceasefire, where there's a blockade on a blockade?
This is one area that people disagree. Some people feel that it was a good idea to accept a ceasefire. Some people think that it was not a good idea. But even people who think that it was not a good idea, they still show up at these nightly rallies. Millions of people in every corner of every city. So there is that sense of unity at the same time that people may disagree on some policy decision that the country made. You can rest assured that during the ceasefires, Iran is getting ready for the next round. It would be foolish for Iran not to do that. So Iran is using this time to make sure that the country can continue fighting back whenever that comes.
Okay, we've got some more breaking news. This is that the UAE has banned travel to Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs just issued an emergency travel ban for all Emirati citizens to Iran, Lebanon, and Iraq, urging anyone already there to leave immediately. They don't ordinarily produce these warnings. This does seem to suggest that something's about to happen. What's your thoughts on the warning by the UAE?
Unfortunately, UAE is Israeli-occupied territory. So Israelis have officially occupied Lebanese and Syrian territory, and they have unofficially occupied UAE. Before the war, we had tens of Israeli companies working in UAE as Israeli companies or as European companies. They were actually Israeli companies. Extensive, the Israeli military industrial complex is partly based in UAE. Some of them are destroyed after the start of the war. And it's unfortunate that the government in UAE has decided to provide this service to the Israelis. It's not a good idea. They are betting on the wrong horse. But this is what they have decided to do. I don't know if you saw the op-ed piece that the UAE ambassador in Washington wrote, very much saying that they are fighting Iran next to U.S. and Israel. We had Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, saying that these countries were fighting shoulder to shoulder. I'm quoting him.
Yeah.
Fighting shoulder to shoulder. You can argue that maybe he's exaggerating for some, but not for UAE. UAE was fighting shoulder to shoulder with the Israelis and Americans. Wrong decision, but sometimes these princes get intoxicated and engage in ideas that it's not really good for them or for their country.
So I guess that's my problem, right? That these countries are helping the United States of America and Israel, facilitating the attacks on Iran, letting America and Israel use their bases, their air. In the case of Kuwait and the UAE, launching attacks directly from their land. So why would you agree to a situation where you allow them to have a certain percentage of the Strait of Hormuz? It makes no sense to me.
The UAE doesn't have anything on the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz has only two coastal states. On the north side is Iran, on the south side is Oman. UAE has nothing to do with the Strait of Hormuz. And because of what they have done to Iran, I think they're going to need to pay, at least for some of the damages. The damage on Iran has been estimated to be about $250 billion. Some of that money is going to come from UAE.
Yeah, I mean, the Iranian parliament, when the legislation about the Strait of Hormuz says that the UAE is going to pay more than everybody else, actually. So that was quite good to see. But I guess the question, what I'm asking about is specifically the statements of the Supreme Leader. The Supreme Leader seems to suggest that the Gulf states are going to benefit from this Strait of Hormuz as well, as in financially. And so why are they financially benefiting when they helped facilitate the attacks on Iran? They're benefiting by attacking Iran?
I don't think he's talking about sharing the passage tolls or pilotage tolls, whatever they decide to call it, with other countries except Oman. If Oman wants it, they are entitled to it. What he's talking about is about the wealth of the Persian Gulf, and these countries are Persian Gulf states, and this wealth should belong to the people. They should be able to benefit from that wealth. All countries, and that includes Iran. So this is a general statement about the fact that we have 7 or 8 countries in this region, and it's a wealthy region. So the wealth should be used for the benefit of the people here, not the benefit of the Israelis or Americans.
Yeah, that's the way it should be, because some of us who basically stood against the oppression of the Iranian people have got into a lot of trouble with the Gulf states, and if Iran ends up becoming friends with them, it'll be we won't be too happy to see that anyway. But coming back to Iran, in terms of coming back to the other element of what we were discussing, which is not being able to discuss with the Trump regime. Now, because of that, there's a blockade. There's an American blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. And we've looked into this. I've not looked at the last 2 days, but the first few days when this blockade, up until a couple of days ago, when this blockade was on, I believe about 3 or 4 ships have been apprehended, but at least 30 or 40 ships have gone through. So how effective is this American blockade?
Some Iranian ships are going through and coming back. So they do it both ways. Iran is we're allowing ships to go through before the U.S. blockade. Iran continues to do that based on whatever calculation they have. So the blockade is not 100% on Iran. Whether this is because of a decision or because the ships generally turn off their the devices that can locate them. But overall, they have intercepted some ships. Other ships have gone through, so it's not 100% blockade as Trump likes to claim.
Yeah. And in terms of specifically, when you look at Iran's demands are remove the blockade, stop the bombing of Lebanon. But the bombing of Lebanon is never going to end. And so where are we at with that? Because Lebanon is being bombed quite hard from the air. I know the resistance is doing really well on the ground. What's your thoughts on what's happening with Lebanon?
This is another violation of ceasefire. So we have 2. We have the blockade. We have this. You had the head of Iran's military aerospace saying that they're ready to engage the other side. We had the Joint Chief of Staff in Iran saying that they're running out of patience. So Iran is basically waiting to see. They're giving the other side a few days to see if they're actually going to continue this failed policy of blockading Iran or not. And if the decision is made here that they are continuing this policy, then you will have people responding in a much serious manner.
And I guess the other element is, at what point does Iran possibly go in and help the resistance in Lebanon?
Iran has been helping the resistance in Lebanon for many years. Some of this capacity that you see that is used is with the help that Iran gave. And Iran will continue to help the resistance. Iran does not consider these people to be separate from Iran. Legally, of course, these are Lebanese, that's Lebanese territory. But that doesn't lessen the obligation that Iranians feel in terms of supporting these people.
Yeah, but I guess the question is Iran going to kinetically join in? Are they going to start bombing Israel for what they're doing to Lebanon?
It may be, Iran sooner or later will decide what to do with these violations. The ceasefire is not really working out for Iran. And, as I said today, Hegseth said that this War Powers Act is not operational because of the ceasefire. So they're using ceasefire to solve internal problems in the U.S. There is no reason for Iran to help Trump solve his problems with the U.S. Congress. So I think sooner or later, if this policy continues, I think you're going to see war. Maybe it's already starting tonight. I don't know.
It's possible. It's possible. It could be tonight, tomorrow, or on the weekend. Professor, when you look at the way Iran has been able to deal with the war and how they've effectively impacted the American empire in the Gulf state, what we saw afterwards was confirmation that the Iranians had been able to destroy a lot more of the American military bases and assets in the region than even when we thought during the first 39 days. How effective has Iran been in destroying the American empire within the region?
Trump, this is what he said. He thought that the war would be over in 3 days. The estimation that the United States had with regard to the power of the Iranian side was very low, not accurate at all. So Iran managed to fight back for 40 days. Iran's missiles are extensive, and some of these factories are underground, so they continue to produce while the country is using these missiles. And this is how it's going to be. Iran can continue that level of resistance for many months to come. There is this culture of resistance among people. We have millions of people coming to the streets, as I said. And when you have a nation behind the policy of defending the country, because the other side has given you no other choice but to do that, then that policy can continue for a long time. Iranians are fighting for Iran. They're fighting for the civilized world. American troops are fighting for Israel and the Epstein class. That's why you have all these fires on American ships. I think these are the fires are created by sailors that are not satisfied with what their government is doing, misusing them, paying them little money, and misusing them and putting them in danger to help Netanyahu continue his political career. This is absurd, and a lot of people understand that. They don't have to be a progressive Democrat. You have people like Joe Kent, conservative Republicans that understand what's going on.
Yeah, and I was speaking to Professor Morandi, and I said the same thing, that when you look at what's happening, there's been a lot of regime change in the United States of America. You've seen a lot of generals resign. You've seen a lot of people being fired. And you saw the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Now, what was interesting was I seen the leadership of Iran, and they're able to easily walk the streets of Iran, whether it's President Pezeshkian, whether it's Professor Ghalibaf, whether it's Abbas Araghchi, whomever it is, they're all able to traverse the streets of Iran without any issues. And yet, the President of the United States of America, if he attempted to traverse his own streets, he would be assassinated. And we've seen that even in enclosed environments, there's multiple alleged assassination attempts against him. What's your thoughts on actually the American people wanting regime change?
The American people are generally smart. They realize that Trump is destroying their country, and they don't want their country to be destroyed. And you have young people in the United States that are capable of doing something about it. Unfortunately, they realize that this system of checks and balances is not functioning well, because U.S. Congress is Israeli occupied territory, and the Supreme Court is full of Trump appointees. So this is creating serious discontent in the United States. You have these no kings demonstrations often, and then you have some people who want to do more than just demonstrate.
Yeah, and it just shows that actually Trump wants regime change in Iran, but it's the American people who want the regime change. Professor Foad, thank you so much for taking your time out to join us. We really appreciate it. Other than your X page, obviously we'll put it up here. Where else can people find your work?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram as well, and I go on Al Jazeera once a week at least. So they can find me when they Google my name. They probably find something new every time.
Brilliant. We'll definitely put your details on the X. Thank you so much for taking your time out to join us. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. That was Professor Foad, who joined us. Great conversation. Make sure you're liking this video. Make sure you're sharing this video. Make sure you're commenting on the main section. What do you think? Do you agree with him? Do you agree with him about the Gulf states? Do you agree with the interpretation of what the Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei had to say? Let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know your views on the comments. But comment on the main section. On the main section, let me know your thoughts. Because if you comment on the main section, not this normal chat, it helps boost it. So if you can do that for me, let me know your thoughts. Make sure you like and make sure you have your notifications on. We've got so many great interviews lined up for the rest of this week, and tomorrow we got a huge debate as well. So watch out for that. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We're also going to be going on to the other channel now, which is the Suleiman Ahmed X channel. We're going to be moving across there because we're going to be continuing with this space. There's lots to talk about and lots to get through. We've got a panel building up right now. So let me move us across to that. Oh, wait, I need to end the stream first. I'm ending the stream. We're moving across there. So watch out.